Hello! Oh no, just noticed you can see some of my green. I'm showing my undercarriage over here. I apologize. It's not very good of me. Let's move. Let's move. I have no green screen. I've never had a green screen. And any of you who accuse me of ever having a green screen, you're wrong. And I will not take that sort of tone with any of you, just so you know. Welcome to the Savannah Performance Project, The Interview, now in its 75th incarnation. Yes, that's right. This is our 75th episode, even though it says 175 in some areas of the nation, because I know people watch us all over the nation, as they should, because this is important stuff that we're talking about here. This is Savannah, Georgia. This is the heartland of the Coastal Empire, which is where Savannah is. And I am a fan. I am a lover. I am an adorer of all things theater. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this. And I love every kind of performance art that there is that they're trying to do in Savannah. And as you know, back in March, we all shuttered ourselves back into our houses. And I don't need to repeat that. We all know that. We're all living that. This is some absurd form of reality that makes no sense. It's all a fiction, isn't it? No, it's not. It's real. That being said, I've started coming to you once a week because I am tired. It's just a fact. I'm tired. But I still love you. And I still want to be here with you. So tonight on our show, I have brought on an all-new guest. I asked him this morning, and he generously, well, maybe it was yesterday. I think it was yesterday, wasn't it? He's shaking his head, yes. It was yesterday that I asked him to come on, and he generously said he would, which I am so appreciative of. And this is a man who needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce him anyway. Mr. Richard Lundin has been a teacher of drama at the Savannah Arts Academy for the past 4 years, and he's going into his 5th year, I believe. He's shaking his head, yes. He has taught for 23 years? Yes. And before here, he was in the lovely, lovely state of Kansas. But he joins us here in Savannah for the past 4 years, and we couldn't be more pleased about it. He's been sitting back there. He's been enjoying the herbal, artisanal tea that we brewed for him. And he's loving it. And also the charcuterie, of course, goes without saying that we have an enormous amount of charcuterie. And he joins us now. How's it going, Richard?
It's good. How are you, Chris? How you doing?
I'm very good. I hope that introduction was did I fill the gambit of
it was classic. The strawberries are delicious, by the way.
Thank you. Those were picked just this morning. They were very fresh.
Yes.
I'm told. It is one of my staff's favorites to pick strawberries.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And they do trim the leaves off very nicely. It actually forms a nice little star shape, which I don't know if you know.
Yeah. Most of the time it's heart shapes. The star was different. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. So how many months has it been? It's been I'd say since March, right?
Yeah.
It's
just barely about mid-March. I mean, at spring break is when that started, and so as we went to spring break, it's like, oh, what's going to happen? And then this is what happened.
Right. So you guys went into the full. Let's create a whole new form of teaching online.
Pretty much creating a whole new universe.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it was especially for some of us, like the students know I'm a right there teacher, and so it's not that I can't use a computer, but the computer has certain specific purposes in theater, and so so my learning curve was pretty sharp. I had to spin around pretty fast, and told the kids right up front, hey, I'm going to mess this up several times before we get there. And they were patient, and they just kind of let me work through it. And then when we hit that moment when they were like, well, you can stay for, this process, or you can go ahead and go. I had about 30, between 30, 35 kids who said, we're going to stay through the whole process. And that actually went better because we were able to kind of focus on a project that was going to carry us through with milestones. Mm-hmm. And the kids responded really, really well. Some really great work came out of that, actually.
Yeah. So what project was that, if you don't mind me asking?
We formed basically production teams, and they got to select what show they were going to do. And then they had to present a show proposal that incorporated all aspects of theater. So somebody had to take on costumes, lighting, stage management, who controlled all of those things and helped share the vision of whatever vision they came up with. Like I said, set design, costume, props. And then if we were missing, for whatever reason, we didn't have enough people, then something we just kind of let it go and said, let's just focus on what we do have. So they found some great resources out there, and I got full costume layouts, computer patterns, computer color. I mean, the whole thing there. And we did reduce stuff. We're saying you don't have to costume the whole cast. There's not enough time to try to do that. So we had them focus on leads and then representation from the chorus or something like that. Because most of them did select musicals, but some great work. I was really impressed by the time I got done because I was afraid it was just like too much. You're just asking too much of these kids. No, they did super job with it.
Right. That's awesome. So I talked to Richie Cook a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And his focus is more on the, on stage, the performance part of it.
Right.
You'd say that yours is more the production part of it, like putting it all together.
Yeah, we've over the last couple of years, we keep tweaking to find what's the best balance to make the experience better for the students. And so right now, I think we're in the right place. We've got Scott Tucker, and he's handling entry level, so acting 1, some playwriting, and acting 2. And then Richie's taking on the acting 3, 4 element repertory theater, those types of areas. And then I've got all the technical aspects. And I think last year classes, just went better because we were all in arenas that we all 3 still direct. And we all 3 help people with acting who maybe want to try to get some one-on-one time. But I think last year went much more fluent as we each had an area that we just focused on. And then this year, our goal is to make sure they blend better. One leads into the next and leads into the next.
Yeah, that's very cool. So the last show that I saw you guys put up was 13.
You missed Noises Off.
I did miss Noises Off, and I apologize for that. I do see a lot of shows. Apologies, but I try to see as many as I can at Savannah Arts, and I think I'll be able to see more now that I only have 1 kid there.
Yeah, it helps.
It does help.
When you don't have quite so many, then you don't have to hit so many things.
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah. And I look forward to that. Of course, as we all know, what's that going to look like this year? Yeah. So tell me, what's that going to look like this year?
Yeah, obviously shows are a big challenge this year. And so we still have our full run. We're looking to see where can we tuck them in and at what point the district's going to allow us. And that's really our restriction at the moment, is that the district is not, is cautious about getting kids together in that type of situation. Theater is a proximity activity. And so we do have some guidelines, and we're still working, myself and Mr. Lockley, we have an open conversation going about how do we narrow this in to say, if I can meet this criteria, I can have students meet. And some things have shifted. We know for a fact the musical Little Shop of Horrors is on the top of our list of shows to get done this year. And we just keep shifting it until we get that opportunity to go. Competitive 1-acts and student-directed 1-acts have already been moved to the spring. So we know that, trying to give time for that to get going. Exactly when it's going to happen, we don't know. And we're still engaging in conversation on, okay, how can we get small numbers of students into the school for one-on-one? Whether that's a lab in the tech department or that's an acting opportunity in the performance side, where they can come in, do a performance, get immediate feedback, then take that feedback with them, so that they can continue to improve their performances. So acting, at least in a monologue format, kind of loses translation when it's recorded. And then sometimes kids may present that and then get feedback, but by the time all that passes, they've kind of forgotten what they did. And how now it's harder to go back and fix it and get better at something. So that's not to say there won't be assignments that say you need to select a monologue, you need to perfect it by this date, it needs to be recorded and submitted for evaluation. So we don't want to take that element out, but it is a little different world. And we are currently still researching some different ideas for ways to put on productions. Outside amphitheaters can lend us to some, spread out the seating, require mass, have all these, the requirements that everybody's asking for. And then one other idea that was discussed was like drive-in movie style.
Yeah.
Where we find a big enough location, we set up a stage, and then people come, stay in their cars, tune in, and then somehow we project it big enough that people can really see it. So there's possibilities out there.
Right.
There's some really cool software coming out for doing shows in 5 or 6 different places and then merging them together with computer generated backgrounds and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So we're researching that as well to see, okay, how can we put some of this stuff to use?
I'm curious. Did you see the information about the performance of Godspell in Massachusetts?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
there was a Shakespearean one in New York, and that was unique.
Mm-hmm.
It was interactive, audience interactive, and that was interesting. I was watching that one, and the downside was if you wanted to be an audience member, you had to buy specialized equipment.
Oh yeah.
To be able to be an audience member and be interactive, and but that was unique.
Yeah.
So
I just shared the link to the Los Angeles Times did an article about the Godspell thing.
Yeah.
But the Shakespeare thing, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, they did a setup where they had images being projected, but there was also an element of almost gamer style.
Okay.
So the characters had a kind of a gameplay feel.
Mm-hmm.
And then the audience, if they had the right equipment, could, in essence, interact in certain points and be almost in the show.
Okay.
And it was some of the visuals that I got to see, because I didn't see the whole thing, but I did get to see clips of it. And it was very much like watching a video game. And so it was quite cool.
Was that the Brendan Bradley stuff?
Huh?
Was that the Brendan Bradley stuff?
Wow, I don't remember that. I don't remember who was attached to it. Yeah, I don't remember.
He was a guest that I had on a while back, and I know he did Shakespeare's the Scottish play. I can say the actual name. We're not.
Yeah, you can, but better not.
Yeah.
It's better not to. Yeah.
But he did that in sort of that environment. So I was wondering if that was it.
I think it was.
Okay.
I think it actually was the Scottish play. Yeah.
Great.
And
it was add that link in too. Now that I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Yeah, and it was just like as you're watching it, and again, I didn't get to see the whole thing, but those elements when you're watching them, you're like, that's really cool that they can just get that all to feel so connected, and so, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I know that you definitely take away some of the experiences by making the viewer immerse themselves into another reality. because now they're separating themselves from
Right.
the audience reality that
Right.
that we all associate with live
Yeah.
theater.
Yeah.
But it's a way to think about it for sure.
Yeah. I saw another one that I thought, I mean, it's much more stylized in well, that's probably not the right word to say it, but they had a space set up, and then they had cameras or monitors all over the place set up. And then as the show unveiled, it was a matter of what character was going to be coming up on what monitor. And so I found it a little tricky to watch that segment because you didn't know where they were going to come from.
Yeah.
And so, and then you might have one talking from down here and another one up here, but somehow they know where they're going, what they're supposed to be doing, and they're looking at each other. So it was a lot of orchestration, a lot of making sure that people are looking the right direction at the right time. So, but it was cool, different.
Yeah. I mean, definitely right now people are inventing things, but they're also using things that have been out there for a little while, a little bit more. Than,
I agree. Yeah.
Very interesting. So I wanted to open this up to anybody who's watching, the 3 people that might be watching right now. If you have any questions,
I can pull a crowd.
Mr. Lundin or myself, please feel free to ask. We have answers. Maybe they're not the right answers. I don't know. We'll find out. But anyway, so what's your background? Let's talk about that for a minute.
Oh, gracious. How far back on background?
I want to go all the way back. When did you first discover that you had this want, this need, this drive to do what you do?
Yeah, it actually wasn't until high school. I mean, I was always kind of the class clown in many, many respects. So, but I grew up in rural Kansas. There really weren't a lot of theater opportunities. There wasn't really a place to go do theater where I grew up. But then when I hit high school, and actually by accident, to be honest with you, I was a big sports kid, undersized, but played about every sport I could get into.
Yeah.
And in my
wrestling, were you a wrestler?
They didn't have wrestling until my second year in high school at our school, and by then I couldn't wrestle anyway. But in middle school, during my final year playing football, I had a neck injury, and was basically told by my doctor, "You need to stop playing these sports. You're not built for it."
Yeah.
And I was pretty aggressive, and so add aggressive player to not really enough mass to support that. And it was a lot of injuries. So when I went into high school, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. The thing I did the most as extracurricular was athletics. So we saw a pretty long line when we were enrolling me and a buddy of mine at this one area, and we're like, what is that? What's going on over there? So we went over and looked, and it was a theater class. And so I just looked at him and said, is this something we want to do? And he's like, sure, why not? And so we took the class, and then I was immediately hooked. And so did forensics and did all those things associated with that, and then did the shows. And, small high school, we did 2 shows a year. One musical and one regular play. Always crowd favorite type stuff. We didn't do anything outside the box.
Yeah.
Every musical was out of the golden era, and so.
Oklahoma. Yep.
Yep. Actually, I lucked out. I did not have to do Oklahoma. Oklahoma's my least.
Lucked out.
Yeah.
I know you recently saw Oklahoma in New
York.
I
did. I've seen Oklahoma several times, actually.
Yeah, and that was not a good experience from what I heard.
No, and the kids know it's my least favorite musical. I don't enjoy it, particularly the opening song from Act 2, and I'm just like, no. And but
so I will. Well, let me take these questions because we actually have some questions, amazingly enough. And here's a person, you mentioned that you weren't built for sports or a smaller frame. Here's a guy with a smaller frame that I know well. Jonathan Philip Dickabilis, JP for short. What is SAA doing with their musical this year? I think we already talked about it, but he may have missed that. And live audience, everything is still up in the air, but I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, our goal is live audience. That's our goal. The secondary choice would be recorded or streamed.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, you move down the line on choices when it's not opened up for you. But our goal is to do it live. And so musicians have permission to work. And with Little Shop, you can do it with a minimal orchestra. You can do it with a big one and get some, but you can do it smaller. It's also a small core as far as characters. The leading characters or the core cast is not tremendously large. Can be rehearsed in segments, so we don't really have to pull everybody together right away. So it lends itself well for us to play around with the rehearsal process, keep numbers smaller in that rehearsal, and then piece it all together in the last 2 weeks or week and a half type thing. The set could be being built the whole time, and then just bring everybody together. The year we did Chicago, we literally built the set and finished the rehearsal process in the last 2 weeks. And so, we know we can, and then with nobody being in the building, it actually makes the build easier because I don't have to compete with anybody who wants on the stage.
Yeah.
So it's the goal is to go live and to invite people in. We may have to extend performances, and we may have to open a conversation with the publishing company on adjusting rights, knowing, a show that might cost you $1,500 in royalties and rentals for 3 performances. But if you're only doing 150 people a night, because that's all you can put in there,
right?
Then hopefully that royalty company will see that and understand and say, okay, wait a minute. Yeah. Maybe we'll do that $1,500 for 6 performances or whatever.
I hope they're open to that conversation. I can't see why they wouldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, any house that opens is not going to be able to open at full capacity. And so, right. And we are only allowed to use a lower section anyway. So even at best, we lose 250 seats almost instantly.
Yeah.
So we've only had certain shows where we really filled the house, and that's why, we're looking at shows like Little Shop of Horrors, and we did Chicago, because those are big names that people know.
Yeah.
And they're much more likely to fill the house. So.
All right. So I have another theater / music instructor watching, so I'll bring him on. Justin Johnson, I believe, is over at SVA. Did you see the production of Oklahoma in the Round? Yes, that's the one he saw.
That's the one I saw. Yeah.
And sorry, it's your favorite.
Yeah. No, it's actually a lot of people's favorite. I'm typically the odd man out on this one.
Yeah.
Because it does incorporate so many elements of musicals. I mean, if you go to Oklahoma, you're gonna see a lot of stylized stuff. The dream sequence and the ballet element, and there's all these things in there that and the heavy dark element of some of the characters.
Yeah.
It lends itself a really wide range, so it's no wonder that it's not popular. And it's massive. I mean, you can make it as big as you want it, and so.
And that current art incarnation has gotten a lot of critical acclaim as well.
It really has, and it's because they really focused on the dark element. And there is a lot if you really pay attention to the script and not just get caught up in the numbers. That's a very dark element. This infatuation and potential danger that's associated with it. Really does lend itself to that style that we saw in New York in the Round. Yeah. And so, and they the director who did that show really focused a lot of energy on that dark. And so it even when you get into those more upbeat numbers, because they painted such a dark picture, it just hangs over every number. So even the upbeat ones still have an undertone of danger in them. So yeah. So, but it was unique, and it generated a lot of conversation. And as long as theater's generating conversation, you're doing something right.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Justin has another question. I went out of order because he asked me the Oklahoma question. I just wanted to dig into that more.
Fair enough.
So that's a big one. Oh, you mentioned time lag for feedback to students on their monologues. Is there an opportunity for students to possibly dig deeper by watching their own performances now that they've been recording, and maybe re-record to keep improving? And we did talk a little bit about that before. And I think the big obstacle that I see with that is the technology part of it, and getting the student used to that. So I think that's the other learning curve that we're now having to get over.
Yeah. Well, and he's right. There's a huge potential in there. It's just training them how to do it. Because once you record a performance and you get feedback, you can go back and watch it and look for it. And then once you find it, then you can start trying to figure out, how do I change that? You know, if it's a interpretation element and it's like, why did you take that language that direction? And then you can go back, and now you can be a little more analytical and ask yourself, why did I do that? What in the script supports the direction that I just took? You know, or if it's like, and I see kids do this a lot, they don't read the whole play, so they take a monologue and they make it funny.
Yeah.
But when we see it, we're like, you know, that's not a funny moment in the play. Right. Your interpretation lacks knowledge of the entire production.
Yeah.
And so giving them that opportunity to go back and analyze what they did and what choices they made and why they made those choices. And then, yes, absolutely, the best thing following that is to do it again with your new decisions. My biggest issue has always been getting kids to commit to their decisions, you know, and fully, and not second guess themselves.
Right. Make a choice. Make a bold choice.
Yeah. Make that big bold choice and then do it 100%. And then afterwards evaluate. Not evaluate while performing.
Yeah.
And so, but getting them much more engaged in that process. I used a system like that several years before I came here, and it's funny because it was a sports software, and I was able to go in because the one thing that they get frustrated with, not frustrated is the wrong word, but it bothers them, is when they have something that every single person can see, and so that software allowed us to block them out. You could go in and literally say, you can only watch your performance. And so that allowed us the opportunity to just line them up on the computer, so to speak. And then the kids could only go get whatever I made available to them. Once they did it themselves, then I would open it up to peer evaluation. So now they're getting feedback from their peers as well. So, but that also has to be taught. You know, some kids don't do well at peer evaluation, and some kids don't take well from peer evaluation.
Right.
So, but he's totally right. Yeah.
That is a skill that they have to have if they're going to pursue this.
Oh yeah.
For the livelihood.
You have to
video the taping part of it. I mean, so many more theaters are doing that now, especially now, and they're taking like casting is done online now. Yeah. We've as a department, we've already discussed. You know, how are we going to use online audition? You know, are we going to give them X amount of information and they audition and record it and send it? Are we going to set it up so that you get your opportunity to audition in more of a live environment? So we've already looked at that. If we can't do it live and in person, then you know, what's the backup plan? Because I think for all three of us, theater's got to happen. It's got to happen in there somewhere. And so, one of the things that
I discussed when I used to teach theater lit is theater is so dependent on the stability of where you are. You lose stability in your society, things like theater, athletics, all those extras just start fading away.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, now we're actually seeing evidence of that. And so, as we continue to move forward and stabilize, it's really important to bring theater back, because it's that sense of this is how we do things.
Right.
And especially for younger people, if you're a theater major but you're not doing theater, it gets frustrating.
Oh yeah. Well, I will say that there's a lot of people talking about it right now. There's a lot of discussion. There's a ton of discussion, I should say. I mean, you find pretty much everybody talking about it. But
I know the theater houses here in Savannah are just, there's a buzz, and they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to find that way to get that stage open back up again. If for nothing else, it's, if you look at any major moment in history, one of the first things that happens once things settle down is entertainment.
Yeah.
And it gives people a place to get away from whatever's driving them, whatever's making them unsettled or uncomfortable. And so just that opportunity to get away and experience something else and be immersed in something that's not every day. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can't wait. Yeah.
Same.
What's in that? Is that just tea?
Just iced tea. Yeah,
okay.
Just iced tea. I didn't drink this much iced tea in Kansas. I drink a lot of iced tea.
Is it unsweetened or sweet?
It is unsweet, yeah.
Okay, good.
Sweet tea's not really a thing in Kansas.
Yeah. So I grew up in the South. My mama always made sweet tea. Big old. It was a huge thing. It was like this big around, and and you just pour your sweet tea out. But I cannot drink sweet tea now. I'll save my life. I can't drink it. But that's Savannah.
Savannah. Savannah was. We learned really quickly when we moved here that if you ask for tea, you have to ask for unsweet. If you don't ask for unsweet, you are getting sweet tea.
Yes. And there are some places in the South where you cannot get unsweetened tea.
Right. That's just the way it is. So if you want tea, drink it like that.
That's right. So now that you've been in Savannah for 4 years, what would you say is your favorite aspect of our fair city?
Of the city.
Yes.
Well, I know for me, we just really enjoyed the opportunity to go out and do so many things anytime.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas is a solid 4-season state. And and it's a state of extremes. So in the summer, when it hits 110, you don't want to go outside. It's too hot. And it's not like here. Here, if you find a shade tree and step under the shade tree, it's not so bad. It's okay. Yeah. In Kansas, the shade tree doesn't help. And so it's just hot. And then in the winter, once it gets down to -10, then you don't really want to go outside then either. So you have these windows of opportunity. In the spring, you're dealing with spring rain and tornadoes, and so it's here. It's opportunities to go out. We're 15 minutes from the beach. I absolutely love the ocean, and so it's a great place for me to go and just relax.
Yeah. So this gentleman right here, he says your favorite thing is his principal. So
yeah. And of course, he's watching right now.
Of course.
He's checking to see if we need to have a conversation in the morning. No, he is great though. I mean,
he is pretty cool. Yeah.
He does a good job, and without a doubt, I can only think of one other principal who was even close to as supportive of the arts as Mr. Lockley is. I mean, it's genuinely important to him. So, which is nice.
He said it got a like. His comment got a like. He's so excited. So let's talk about school for a minute. It's we're having an open house. I think it's next Thursday.
No, this Thursday.
This Thursday.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. No, Thursday.
No, Thursday.
I'm losing.
That's okay.
Yeah.
If you're going to confuse the entire population.
Today is Tuesday, 2 more days, and
2 more
then we
days.
have an open house. And the open house is at Savannah Arts?
No, it's virtual.
Okay.
Yeah.
I say good because I don't want to go anywhere.
Yeah. Now we're all getting to the point where before we're like, let's go. And now we're like, nah, never mind.
Right.
And so, but yeah, it will be it will be virtual.
Okay.
And so
my plan is I'm going to drive over to the school and just sit in my car and look at my laptop.
And watch it on your phone.
That's right.
That way you can at least feel like I'm here.
Exactly.
It's not a bad plan.
Yeah.
And so
cool.
Right now it sounds like that it's going to be kind of in a two-part type of element. A lot of the core type stuff and dealing with counselors and information of that nature is really going to be coming out on Thursday. And then the visual and performing arts element will be separate. Okay. And that's not all finalized at this point, so I don't want to throw something out and say, "Oh, that's how it's going to be."
Right, gifts watching anyway. We can't put out any information.
Yeah, I'm glad he gave me a heads up. So, but yeah, and I know people probably need to go back out and check. I know they're adjusting the times a little bit, so that they want to make sure that they know exactly what time those things are starting and when's the best time for them to be there, depending on what grade level what alphabet they are, and so depending on whose counselor they're assigned to, or which counselor they're assigned to. So, but I know there's going to be some good video stuff, some good information, and so necessary information for some people. So it's really important that happens. So.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to learning some new stuff. I unfortunately the next day am taking my son up to Atlanta to start college.
Oh goodness, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got a busy couple of days.
Yes, you do. Yeah, and so as far as the preparation side of it goes, I know they've introduced some new formats for teachers, for everybody involved. And I'll say publicly, I like it a lot. Excuse me. It's a lot of upfront and transfer work for teachers right now because it is a new platform. But
it's what is it? Learn.
It's learning.
It's learning. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that is closely related to Google Classroom.
It ties a lot of stuff together. It's really a very similar concept. I think it's more intuitive. I think it's a much more user-friendly type of setup. And so, and it keeps a lot more resources right there connected. And so, which makes it much easier to get to what you need, whether you're a student or a teacher or a parent. And so it also opens up once it's fully, once it really gets going, it really opens a lot better access for parents to see what was assigned. Did my child do it? What did they get on it? And be able to see what their progress is in any particular unit or any particular assignment. So I'm looking forward to putting that particular platform out there. Spent a lot of time working on it today. So I'm hoping it's received. I know the people that I've talked to really like it. And so hopefully it'll go out well for everybody. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. I can't wait to see changes. I'm a big change guy anyway. So whatever happens, we just kind of roll with it.
Yeah. I like to claim that I'm a big change guy, but then when it hits, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well,
Richard, I think this is a positive one.
Yeah, I think so. And that's the main purpose of this, is to try to push the positive as much as we can with every negative thing that happens today. That's what this is all about. Let's see the right side.
I think that just has to stay the focus. the Thespian program, we have obviously new officers this year, and we've had several meetings and several discussions, and that one comes up a lot. It's like they know some things are, a lot of things just aren't going to be the same, but that doesn't mean they're going to be bad. And so, right now they're all pretty positive. They just finished a brand new newsletter and sent it out. They're finding new ways to connect with students. They've got a plan to make connections with new students and make sure they feel like they're part of the theater family. So, they've got a really, really strong positive outlook. And so they're just trying to keep it that way. And so, as long as they keep on the path that they're on right now, I see good things. So.
That's awesome. And it's the National Thespian Society?
International Thespian
International.
Society. Yeah.
ITS.
Yeah. And so, they're connected through EDTA, the Educational Theater Association. And we're still working on what is ThesCon going to look like this year, which is the Thespian Conference. And so, even that organization, as large as it is, the entire Georgia Thespian organization is struggling to say, how do we do this and make it not only viable and useful, but fun and somehow connecting everybody together. Because if you've never been to a Thespian conference, it's an amazing, all-encompassing theater smorgasbord. And so you just can't. There's no way to not have fun while you're there and learn stuff at the same time. So
very cool. Well, I'll say this: it has been a pleasure to have you on. I appreciate you joining us and doing it so quickly. I didn't even know if I was going to have a show today. I actually thought my guest next week was supposed to be on today. So thank you so much for filling in for who's
I enjoyed it
next week. And while I say that, I'll go ahead and introduce who's going to be on next week, because I don't know, I'm a little excited about it. So Mr. Ken Davenport, Broadway producer, will be on next week. And you mentioned the International Theater Society. I believe he's starting some sort of project with the International Theater Society. I don't know the exact.
I'll have to check out EDTA and see what they got out there on him.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, be sure to check that out. But again, I so appreciate you coming on. I'm glad you enjoyed the charcuterie. I know that the strawberries were delicious.
They were outstanding.
Yeah, when we minimized real quick, I don't know.
Yeah. Being gluten free, I couldn't really get into the crackers and that type of thing. But
it's
the fresh fruit was great.
To get the gluten free kind, but they just don't taste good anyway. So. But again, Richard, I'll see you hopefully soon at the old arts building.
Yep.
And
soon would be good, but safe.
Let's say that soon would be good. All right. Have a great evening.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Richard Lundin, drama teacher at Savannah Arts Academy. I don't know why I go into that voice. That's not my actual voice. This is my actual voice. Maybe it's because I'm dramatic. Let's hope so. Have a great week. Come back with us next week. I believe that the good Dr. is doing another show at some point. You'll have to check that out. That's my other series that I do, that I'm a part of in some way. So make sure you check that out too. Follow us on Facebook. Like us on the tweets. Do the Instas. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you can. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. End broadcast. What? Yes, end broadcast. And sitcom.